feel like part of my life is gone. Like, I ain't never gonna see my son smile no more. I'm not gonna be able to get them big hugs where he can pick me up off my feet no more. I ain't gonna be able to get 1,000,001 questions from my grandbaby no more. I got a double whammy. I can't even get time to like grieve in between because I don't have just one funeral. I got 2 funerals I gotta prepare for.
Court documents show the father and daughter were shot inside their car in a parking lot near 19th Avenue and Baseline after an alleged tailgating incident led to a fight between Quincy and Tyrone DiCilli.
And then you already killed my son. You went over there and shot the mama. And then you went to the middle and shot my grandbaby. Why would you shoot up a baby? Like, she had nothing to do with whatever you and my son went through. I just want to warn people, just please be mindful. And it's the holidays, so take a little bit more care of what you're doing. It's people out here, and it's people who got issues already with the holidays. They already not feeling good, so just be careful because you never know what might happen.
A father and his 8-year-old daughter were shot dead in a Lowe's parking lot over a honking horn. Quincy Polk, 30 years old, and his daughter Envy Cardenas were killed by Tyrone DiCilli after a tailgating dispute turned into a deadly confrontation. The weapon? A handgun. The reason? Road rage. 3 other children witnessed their father and sister lose their lives in front of them. This is the Quincy Polk case. How does a parking lot argument end with 2 funerals? Subscribe to Crime Lab Report to find out. Quincy Polk was 30 years old and living in the Phoenix area. But who was he beyond that tragic day? According to his family, Quincy was a devoted father who went nowhere without his daughters. His mother, Josra Martin, and his aunt, Jennifer McCree, described him as someone whose entire world revolved around his children. He wasn't just present, he was engaged, involved, the kind of father who prioritized his kids above everything else. Quincy had a fiancée, Alexis Cardenas. Together they were raising 3 daughters in what his family describes as a close, loving household. The kind of family that did things together, went places together, built memories together. But what about the 8-year-old girl who lost her life beside him? Envy Cardenas was smart, happy, and bouncy. That's how her family remembers her. She had long, beautiful hair and a personality that lit up every room she entered. She wasn't quiet or shy. She was full of life, full of energy, the kind of child who made you smile just by being around her. Her family said she had a bright future ahead of her. Teachers liked her. Friends liked her. She was exactly the kind of kid who makes parents proud. Not because she was perfect, but because she was authentically, joyfully herself. Envy was growing up in a household with 2 younger sisters. Nasix Blue, 5 years old, and Alani, just 1 year old. The 3 girls were being raised together by their parents in South Phoenix. What were they doing on November 22nd? Just normal family errands. The kind of boring afternoon that shouldn't end in tragedy. So what went so catastrophically wrong? Tyrone DiCilli was 28 years old at the time of the incident. But who was the man who would pull a trigger in a parking lot full of families? Chili lived in the Phoenix area and drove a gray Dodge Challenger. On November 22nd, he was at a shopping center near 19th Avenue and Baseline Road, trying to get a loan. A routine financial errand. Nothing remarkable about his day, until it turned violent. So what kind of person was Chili before this incident? That's harder to say. Public records don't show extensive details about his background, employment history, or personal life. What is documented is what happened on that specific afternoon when a stranger's driving irritated him. Had Chili shown violent tendencies before? Were there warning signs that he might escalate a minor conflict into lethal force? Those details haven't been made fully public yet. What we know is that on November 22nd, Chili was armed. He had a handgun in his vehicle. And when he felt disrespected, he chose to use it. That decision would destroy multiple families and land him behind bars facing life in prison. How does a stranger become someone who takes lives over something as trivial as tailgating? There was no relationship. That's the crucial detail here. Quincy Polk and Tyrone Chili had never met. They weren't friends who had a falling out. They weren't neighbors with boundary disputes. They weren't co-workers with grudges. They were 2 strangers whose vehicles happened to be in the same shopping center on the same afternoon. So how did their paths cross? According to Chili's own statement to police, it started with traffic. Chili was driving in the shopping center near 19th Avenue and Baseline Road. He alleged that Polk pulled up behind his car and began tailgating him, driving too close, riding his bumper. Then came the horn. Polk honked. Not once, but several times according to Chili. Short, repeated honks that Chili interpreted as aggressive and disrespectful. Was Polk actually tailgating aggressively? Or was Chili driving slowly, and Polk simply wanted to get around him? We only have Chili's version of the traffic dispute, and he had every reason to justify what came next. What we know for certain is this. Both vehicles ended up in the Lowe's parking lot around 2:45 in the afternoon. Did Polk follow Chili there? Did they both happen to be going to the same location? The exact sequence of how they both ended up parked near each other hasn't been fully detailed in public records. But once both vehicles were stopped in the parking lot, the confrontation escalated from driving dispute to physical violence. Both men got out of their vehicles. What was said between them? What was the tone? Who approached whom first? Those specific details remain unclear from available reports. What is documented is that the confrontation became physical. Chili told detectives that Polk struck him 4 to 5 times, hits to the face, head, and body. According to Chili, Polk knocked him to the ground. Then, Chili claims Polk made a threatening statement about what would happen next time. Did Polk actually say that? Or is that Chili's attempt to justify what he did next? Only 2 people heard those words, and one of them is no longer here. While Chili was on the ground, he says Alexis Cardenas, Polk's fiancée, joined the altercation. According to Chili's account, she kicked him in the head while he was down. A witness in the parking lot heard Chili say words that would prove crucial to the case. A statement about making someone pay for their actions. That statement is crucial. It shows intent. It shows Chili wasn't just reacting in fear. He was making a conscious decision to retaliate. To teach someone a lesson. To make them pay. At some point, the physical altercation ended. Both parties returned to their vehicles. The confrontation was over. Chili could have driven away. Polk could have driven away. Everyone could have left bruised, angry, but alive. But that's not what happened next. Chili didn't drive away. Instead, he reached for his handgun. He grabbed the weapon and chambered a round. The distinct sound of a bullet being loaded. The sound that says someone is about to shoot. Chili told detectives he was angry about being assaulted. Not afraid. Angry. What was happening inside Polk's vehicle at that moment? 3 children sat in the back seats. Envy, 8 years old. Nasix Blue, 5 years old. Alani, just 1 year old. Alexis was in the front. Did they see Chili retrieve his weapon? Did they have time to react? Chili fired. Not once. Multiple rounds at the driver's side of Polk's SUV. The projectiles went through metal and glass. They found their targets. Quincy Polk was struck. The man who had just been in a physical altercation, who was sitting behind the wheel with his children in the back seat, was hit. He collapsed in the driver's seat. Inside the vehicle, chaos erupted. Screaming. Children witnessing their father being shot. Terror. But Chili wasn't done. 8-year-old Envy Cardenas was struck in the head. A child. Sitting in the back seat. Not fighting. Not threatening anyone. Just a little girl who went to run errands with her dad. The injury to Envy's head would prove fatal, though she wouldn't pass immediately. She was still alive when emergency responders arrived, but the damage was done. 5-year-old Nasix Blue was shot in the leg. The wound would require immediate medical attention, and doctors would later determine the bullet cannot be safely removed. She will carry it in her body for the rest of her life. Alexis Cardenas was hit multiple times, injuries to her face, neck, and shoulder. Catastrophic wounds. Life-threatening injuries. She was bleeding, wounded, but somehow still conscious. 1-year-old Alani, by some miracle, was not struck. What did Alexis do next? Most people would collapse. Most people would freeze. She didn't. Alexis exited the SUV. Wounded and bleeding, she pulled her own weapon and returned fire at Chili. How many shots did she fire? That hasn't been specified. But she fought back against the man who had just shot her family. A nearby vehicle was struck during the exchange. The occupants weren't injured, but it shows just how dangerous this situation was. Rounds fired in a public parking lot. Families shopping. Children present. Complete disregard for human life. Then Chili stopped. He called 911 and reported that he had shot someone. In the parking lot, the scene was devastating. Quincy Polk had passed in the driver's seat. Envy was unresponsive with a critical head injury. Alexis lay on the pavement, severely wounded. Nasix Blue screamed in pain from the bullet in her leg. Alani cried in her car seat, surrounded by chaos and shattered glass. Witnesses rushed to help. Someone else called 911. Bystanders tried to render aid while waiting for paramedics. When Chili saw Alexis pulling Envy from the vehicle, he later told police that's when he realized there were children in the car. Did he really not know? Or is that just easier to live with than admitting you knowingly shot into a car full of kids? Emergency responders arrived. Paramedics worked frantically on multiple victims. The parking lot became a crime scene. Police tape, evidence markers, spent shell casings. Envy Cardenas was rushed to the hospital. Doctors fought to save her life. They couldn't. She passed away from her head injury. 8 years old. Gone over a honking horn. Quincy Polk was pronounced deceased. 30 years old. A father of 3. Taken from this world in front of his children because someone felt disrespected. Alexis Cardenas was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. She underwent emergency surgery. Doctors placed her in a medically induced coma due to the severity of her wounds. She would eventually need facial reconstruction surgery. Nasix Blue received treatment for her leg wound. She survived. She would be released from the hospital days later. Alani, physically unharmed, went home. But what does a 1-year-old remember? What trauma lives in her subconscious from that day? Tyrone Chili was also taken to the hospital, not for gunshot wounds, but for a finger injury and high blood sugar. He survived with minor injuries while 2 people had lost their lives. How does that make any sense? Phoenix police arrived at a complex crime scene. 2 shooters, multiple victims, witnesses, shell casings scattered across the parking lot, and 1 suspect who had already called 911 to report what he'd done. Detectives secured the scene immediately. They photographed the positions of both vehicles, documented the damage to Polk's SUV, collected spent shell casings from both firearms, and marked the location where Alexis fell after being shot. The gray Dodge Challenger that Chili drove was processed for evidence. His handgun, the weapon he placed on his car after the incident, was recovered. Ballistics testing would later confirm which bullets came from which weapon. Witness statements were collected immediately. Multiple shoppers at Lowe's had seen or heard parts of the confrontation. 1 witness reported hearing Chili's threatening statement before shots were fired, undermining any claim of pure self-defense. At the hospital, detectives interviewed Chili. He had been treated for his finger injury and high blood sugar. Now he had to explain why 2 people had lost their lives. Chili's version of events was consistent with one narrative. He felt disrespected, assaulted, and threatened. He claimed Polk struck him multiple times, knocked him down, made threats, and that Alexis kicked him while he was on the ground. But here's where his self-defense claim started falling apart. Chili admitted to detectives that after the fight, both parties had returned to their vehicles. The immediate threat was over. He could have left. Instead, he chose to grab his weapon, chamber a round, and fire into Polk's vehicle. Chili told investigators he didn't intend to shoot the driver and that he didn't understand why Polk would assault him with children in the vehicle. He said if he could go back in time, he wouldn't have shot. But intent doesn't matter when you point a loaded weapon at someone and pull the trigger. You can't accidentally fire multiple rounds. You can't accidentally chamber a bullet. Those are deliberate actions. The investigation was straightforward. Chili had already called 911 and admitted to the shooting. Multiple witnesses saw the incident. Physical evidence backed up the sequence of events. Ballistics matched Chili's weapon to the fatal shots. Within days, the Maricopa County Attorney's Office filed charges. 2 counts of first-degree premeditated ending of life, 3 counts of aggravated assault, and 2 counts of endangerment. The premeditated distinction is crucial. Prosecutors argued that when Chili returned to his vehicle, retrieved his weapon, and fired, those were deliberate, calculated actions. Not heat-of-the-moment panic. Not pure self-defense. Revenge. Chili was arrested and booked into Maricopa County Jail. His bond was set at $3 million. He wasn't going anywhere. The incident sent shockwaves through South Phoenix and beyond. A father and daughter taken from this world in broad daylight at a Lowe's parking lot? Over road rage? How does a community process that? Within days, a fundraiser launched to help the family with memorial and medical expenses. Strangers donated. People who never knew Quincy or Envy contributed because the senselessness of their passing struck a nerve. Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell issued a public statement warning Arizona drivers about the prevalence of road rage incidents. She urged people with anger problems to leave their weapons at home and advised drivers to immediately disengage from aggressive encounters. Mitchell's statement wasn't just about this case. It was a plea to prevent the next one. Arizona has a gun culture. It also has aggressive drivers. When you combine hot tempers with easy firearm access, tragedy becomes inevitable. Quincy's mother, Josra Martin, spoke to the media through tears about losing both her son and granddaughter. The pain in those words is unbearable. She didn't lose one family member, she lost two. One funeral is devastating. Two funerals for victims of the same senseless act? That's generational trauma. Quincy's aunt, Jennifer McCree, urged the public to prioritize getting home safely, emphasizing that no confrontation is worth losing your life. Tyrone Chili made his first court appearance shortly after his arrest.
It's behind bars on a $3 million cash bond after allegedly shooting up a car with a family of 5 inside. 4 people were shot. 2 of them were killed, including an 8-year-old girl. 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra is live in studio with the details on the suspect. And Gabby, what did you find out?
Well, Caribe, the suspect was booked into Maricopa County Jail after being taken to the hospital for a possible gunshot wound to his finger, among unrelated health issues. He asked the judge to give him supervised probation, but the judge ordered a steep bond considering the number of victims in this case.
Tyrone Chili, 2997.
Tyrone D. Chili appeared in court before a judge for the first time after a road rage incident turned deadly.
At this time, I'll be setting a $3 million cash bond.
Chili is facing 2 counts of murder, among other felony charges for allegedly open firing on a family of 5, shooting and killing 8-year-old Envy Cardenas and her father, 30-year-old Quincy Polk, and injuring Cardenas' mother and 5-year-old sister.
The suspect retrieved a handgun and opened fire on a stopped car occupied by 2 adults and 3 children in a crowded parking lot in the middle of the afternoon in retribution for a fight that occurred with one of the adult occupants.
According to court records, Chili and the victims crossed paths as they were leaving separate stores last Saturday afternoon. Chili allegedly told detectives Polk pulled up close behind his car and honked his horn several times. The 2 drivers then fought outside of their cars. Chili claims Polk hit him several times and he couldn't hit back. The drivers returned to their cars, but that's when Chili allegedly pulled out a gun and shot at Polk's car several times. A witness told police they heard Chili say something to the effect of, "You're going to learn to pay for what you do."
12 to 15 gunshots easily. I mean, it was a strong volley.
The mother allegedly got out of the passenger side of the victim's car and fired back. Chili walked over and took the gun from her. He says he then heard her scream, "My baby," telling police he did not realize children were in the car.
The guy was pacing around the car, screaming at the people inside.
Chili allegedly told detectives if he could go back, he would not have shot at the driver.
This happens so much right now that it's disturbing. It's something that is almost a trend. We're almost seeing and hearing about it every day.
Former Phoenix Police Commander Jeffrey Hines encourages drivers to de-escalate road rage incidents by taking a deep breath, getting away from the other driver, and calling 911 if necessary.
Try to calm yourself down, because if they do confront you, it's just that confrontation is where everything just seems to explode.
The charges were read: 2 counts of first-degree premeditated homicide, 3 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of endangerment. Each count carried significant prison time. If convicted on all charges, Chili faced the possibility of life in prison without parole. His plea? Not guilty. Prosecutors laid out their case theory. Chili had the opportunity to leave after the fight. He chose to arm himself instead. That specific mechanical action of chambering a round proved intent. He fired multiple rounds into a vehicle. He showed complete disregard for human life. That's premeditated homicide, not self-defense. The defense faced an uphill battle. How do you defend firing into a car with 3 children inside? Their likely strategy: claim Chili acted in the heat of passion after being assaulted, didn't know children were in the vehicle, and feared for his life after being threatened. But the state had powerful evidence against those claims. Witnesses heard Chili make his revenge statement before the shooting. He admitted he was angry about being assaulted, not fearful. He fired multiple rounds, not a single panic shot. As of today, Tyrone Chili remains in Maricopa County Jail awaiting trial. For the surviving family members, every day is a battle. Alexis Cardenas has undergone facial reconstruction surgery and faces years of recovery, both physical and psychological. How do you recover from watching your fiancé and daughter taken from you? How do you explain to your surviving children what happened that day? Nasix Blue is home from the hospital, living with that permanent reminder lodged in her leg. She's 5 years old. She should be worried about kindergarten and playground games. Instead, she's a survivor of violence. Alani, the 1-year-old who was physically unharmed, is too young to consciously remember. But childhood trauma experts know that even pre-verbal children absorb traumatic experiences. Josra Martin now faces the rest of her life without her son and granddaughter. She'll never watch Quincy walk his daughters down the aisle. She'll never see Envy graduate. Holidays, birthdays, family gatherings, all of them are now marked by absence. The case continues to move through the court system, but for the families involved, no verdict brings back their loved ones. No sentence erases the trauma. The legal system can deliver consequences, but it cannot deliver healing. Quincy Polk should be alive right now, watching his daughters grow up. Envy Cardenas should be in 3rd grade, playing with friends, dreaming about her future. Instead, they're gone. 2 lives ended over a parking lot dispute that could have been resolved by one person simply driving away. And that's the lesson, if there is one. It's never worth it. Whatever ego needs protecting, whatever disrespect needs addressing, whatever anger needs expressing, none of it is worth losing your life over. None of it is worth taking a life over. The case of Quincy Polk and Envy Cardenas is a brutal reminder that we're all just seconds away from tragedy. One bad decision, one moment of rage, one trigger pull, and 3 children are left without a father and sister because a stranger couldn't control his anger. What could have been done differently that day? Let us know in the comments. The trial continues. The healing never really does. And somewhere in Arizona, a family tries to figure out how to move forward when 2 of their members aren't coming back. This has been Crime Lab Report.